don't even know why we're having primaries, to be completely honest. I mean, there's some weird news. Marianne Williamson has unsuspended her campaign. She's back. And I made the joke, like, Joe Biden suffers a heart attack, Trump gets arrested, and then it's Williamson v. Haley. And, like, no one saw it coming. But check this out. 99% reporting, here we go. Joe Biden ends up with 623,000 votes, but 101,000 people, 13%, 13.2, uncommitted has 2 delegates. 100,000 people voted uncommitted. They do not want Joe Biden. And it's worse for Joe Biden. Uncommitted trounces Biden in Dearborn presidential primary. That is, Muslim voters are voting uncommitted. They are voting against Joe Biden. They are protesting because they support Gaza. And, you know, look, in essence, many of these people do support Hamas. And, you know, I know it's a difficult situation because there's a lot of people who are very critical of Israel, and you're allowed to be. But these activists are posting images of paragliders. OK, so there certainly are people, as much as people want to come out. No, it's about the Palestinian people. Yeah. And a lot of these activists have publicly stated they support Hamas directly and the atrocities they committed. I don't see how Biden can get past this. If it turns into 2% in the general election come 2024, Muslim voters just say, no, we're not going to vote for either of you. Trump wins. Biden can't handle it.
Biden needs all the support he can get, especially in Michigan. I mean, it's really interesting to see the state turnout. I liked this from the Republican angle because Trump got like almost 70% of the votes, well over 60%. This is after Nikki Haley criticized him for getting over 50% in Iowa and New Hampshire, saying, well, that means almost half of the Republican voters don't want them. There is so much spinning
those are
of
Democrats.
the data. No,
she's such a liar.
She's such a character, I think. She is staying in this race until Super Tuesday just to prove a point, just to prove that she can spend the money.
I think her strategy is what Vivek described. She's going to stay in the race, hoping and praying that Donald Trump gets arrested or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, he already got arrested, but hoping he gets convicted and goes to jail. That way she can come out and be like, well, see, now I have to be the presidential candidate. But she's lying. The people who are voting for her are Democrats. We all know it. CNN interviewed these people. They're just Democrats. I think the important takeaway from this is if the uncommitted vote maintains itself, it could be that they knew Joe Biden's not going to lose, so let's make a statement, right? Come the election between Trump, they're going to be like, I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to vote for Biden. Sure. Or if it even is Joe Biden. But if a small percentage of these people say no and they don't vote, let's just say all the uncommitted voters would commit to voting for Joe Biden if need be. Trump is still winning in terms of voter turnout. So if the primary voter turnout translates into the general, Trump is winning by 30,000+ votes. He takes Michigan. I feel like this is going to hit Biden everywhere. I don't see how this guy wins. I don't see how he keeps running.
I don't know how he won in the first place. I don't know why,
Obama
picked him as vice president. I don't know why this guy is still in politics.
No, that
what
was
would he
easy.
be doing? Someone was like, what would he do if he was no longer president? What would be a great job for him? And I just kept thinking, to retire. He'd retire.
Hopefully.
Well, hold on.
Our nation's oldest president stops working. That's a good plan.
No, I mean, he could work in a bingo hall or something. You know?
He's too old for that, I think. He's just so slow. He'd have to retire.
Calling out the wrong number.
And if I'm thinking that about a guy, what he would do after his job is retire, and he's the president, he needs to retire. Mm-hmm. It's time.
Yeah.
Bow out, Joe. Bow out. You are done.
It's kind of. Did you guys see him on Seth Meyers?
No.
Seth Meyers asked him, like, "You're 81. What do you say?" And he's like, "Hey, the other guy's nearly as old as I am." It's like, bro, nearly as old as you are, it's still bad.
He's like, hey, look over there at that guy.
And then the funny thing was,
question, bro.
He's like, the other guy doesn't even know can't remember his wife's name. And everyone laughed. And I'm like, that was you.
What?
That was literally Biden.
It's one of Biden's other personalities. No, it's not good. And I mean, I don't know if we're
Biden saw news about, president forgets who wife is. And he's like, must have been Trump.
Because he can't remember.
They're talking about you.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's crazy that he confused Trump for himself.
But then his physician just released his report being like, everything is fine. Do not worry about Biden.
Yeah, no cognitive test needed. He's got hip arthritis, though. That's bad.
And we're concerned about some lesions on his skin. Maybe skin cancer, we can't say.
Really? Is that what they said?
My greatest concern right now is that what we're seeing is elderly abuse. You see just how they continue pushing him out there. You see just how he continues making the mistakes that he's making. and turning corners, not knowing where he's at, trying to ask somebody for directions. It's
walking the wrong way on stage.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And one of the things, it's of my opinion. I know we're on YouTube too, so I want to be careful here. But it's my opinion that he didn't win to begin with, and so it's
well, that's an interesting, I suppose, semantic argument. What do you mean he didn't win? Like, what are your thoughts on that? What does that mean?
I don't believe that he legally got the votes.
Well, so not defined legally. This is the point of contention for the argument about whether or not Joe Biden won. What does that mean to legally get the votes?
Well, I mean, whenever you have dead people that are voting, whenever you look at the ballot trafficking that has gone on, whenever you look at, say, 2,000 Mules, right? I think they did a great job at painting what really happened. Now you add all of that, which I understand that there needs to be further proof, but the fact that there was no real investigation done, and the fact that that no courts would hear any of it out. But then you take into consideration the fact that they suppressed big tech suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop on top of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's many different angles in which Biden supposedly won.
Well, see, there's the issue, right? Biden legally won, and that's the important thing to understand. Legally does not mean right or morally. Democrats changed the rules in many of these states. And that was the basis for most of Trump's lawsuits that were actually winning, was the constitutionality of the changes made by Democrats. And the courts just said it's legal. So you ended up with signature verification with an error rate of like 0.1%, which is unheard of. It should be a couple more than that. Like, they should be checking signatures. You end up with ballot harvesting. You end up with voting in the park. And so I think the important thing that a lot of Trump supporters don't understand, or didn't understand at the time, many of them being first-time voters don't understand what's actually going on with elections. And so the idea is, if Donald Trump gets up on stage and says, here are my ideas, and you say he's completely right about that, he's convinced everybody I know, I talk to people and they're saying Trump, and there's Trump flags everywhere. Then come election day, Biden wins. These people go, how could Biden have won? This makes no sense. Biden didn't win. And it's like, well, hold on. It's because you guys thought an election was winning an argument, where the Democrats thought, how can we change the rules so that it becomes legal that we win? And so you end up with what Time magazine refers to as the shadow campaign. And that's happening now. The end of the day, you can call it whatever you want. Biden won. He's in the White House. He's been in the White House. He's been messing around. He's been arresting his opposition. He's criminally charging Donald Trump, calling for Trump to be charged, telling Merrick Garland, what did he insult? He insulted Merrick Garland and said, stop being like studious or something like that. Said, go bring up charges. Now the Biden DOJ is going after a journalist over January 6th. To say that he didn't win sounds like Trump supporters didn't understand the game that was being played. And they had genuine faith that there was a real election happening, where we all go out and we all agree, I think this guy's better. And then we all shake hands, and the guy who wins is going to be in the White House. And what actually happened was Democrats said, we know we can't win the argument. We got a walking corpse over here. We can hit Biden's going on.
And that was their best option. That's what they thought was the best option.
They put Biden in the basement, and they got ballot harvesting 100%. And they went door to door, and they started collecting ballots, and it was legally done.
Ballot harvesting and ballot trafficking. But so you actually just said it. They thought that a real election was going on. So yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, a real election. It wasn't. Right. It wasn't just changing rules. It was literally breaking the rules, which is breaking the law. So, I think there's a lot of directions that we could go just with this topic in general. But at the end of the day, changing the rules and breaking the rules are two different things. I think there was a little bit of both going on, or a lot of bit of breaking the rules. But
I think the issue with so after it all went down, the real block was standing in the lawsuits. So the big one, of course, being Texas v. Pennsylvania. This, I think, exemplifies exactly how the Democrats, quote unquote, won. They did not. The way I describe it is, in terms of what an American thinks an election is, certainly Biden did not win that. In terms of what an election functionally and legally is, Biden won by spades. He's sitting in the White House. He got the legitimacy assigned to him. But Texas v. Pennsylvania exemplifies exactly how it went down. A year before the election, Republicans and Democrats cut a deal unconstitutionally that would create universal mail-in voting in Pennsylvania. They were not allowed to do that. The Republicans in Pennsylvania knew they couldn't do it. They tried changing the law so that they would allow universal mail-in voting and stopped halfway when they realized the Constitution banned universal mail-in voting. They then revisited it, changed the wording of it, did a deal with Democrats, steamrolled it through anyway. Texas made a very, very important point that I agree with. If we are all to have an election and the rules are as such that we determine our elections, blah, 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 but one state is breaking the rules by violating the Constitution, then our votes are being nullified. Let me put it this way. 50 people are in a room and they're all going to decide on, who's in charge. But one guy's got a gun in his back. And so he votes. And then Texas looks at it. No, hold on. That's not a real vote. That guy has a gun to his back. He's being forced to vote that way. That's basically what they're saying about Pennsylvania. They changed the rules in violation of the Constitution. You can't do that. That vote shouldn't count. We got to throw this back to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, no, we will not hear this. And that exemplifies. So I think the problem is if you approach this assuming that how Joe Biden wins is fraudulent ballots printed up and things like that, and you're going to lose in 2024. Because what they admitted exactly what they did. Mark Zuckerberg spent $500 million. Wisconsin voter in the park. Pennsylvania changing the laws to allow universal mail-in voting, and then all of a sudden people are getting ballots dumped at their houses. Certainly there's voter fraud. You had that woman from, what was it, The View, who said she voted for her son and then tried to panic and backtrack. I believe there was certainly a lot of moms voting for their kids, but it's much, much simpler than that. And the way you need to combat it is, one, either get rid of universal mail-in voting, which I think is ridiculous. Get rid of early voting, which I also think is ridiculous. And you got to address the procedural changes Democrats made, because it is impossible to, you can get people to watch ballot boxes and all that stuff. And that's the trick. If Republicans all say hey, we're going to go out and we're going to watch all the ballot locations, we're going to film, we're going to make sure none of this weird, 2000 mule stuff is going on, you'll lose. Because what they're going to do is they're going to go, oh, geez, they're watching those ballots. And then they're going to send out their ballot harvesters to go. James O'Keefe caught them doing this. They're going to go knock on doors and they're going to say, fill out your ballot. And so what happens is you get a guy who doesn't care to vote, never wants to vote, knock on his door. Someone says, did you vote? And they go, no. Well, it's right there. Fill it out. I don't want to fill it out. I'll come back tomorrow. Okay, fine. Here. There you go. Get out of my house. Then you got parents going to their kids and being like, okay, we're going out for dinner. Did you vote? And the kids are like, I don't care. I don't want to vote. Fill out the ballots. And the kids go, okay, fine, whatever. And they fill it out. Okay, can we go eat now? That's how they're getting it done. And so right now, we got all these polls showing Trump winning. We got Trump trouncing Biden in Michigan. But I will just put it very simply. There is a shadow campaign. Democrats, according to Time Magazine, had a shadow campaign in 2020. They certainly have one today. I'm not worried about fraudulent ballots being printed up or whatever. I do have a concern about what they did in Arizona to Kerry Lake. Ballot machines got wrong paper printed and the machine stopped working. But I think the big play right now needs to be, and it's funny because it seems like with Ronna McDaniel finally agreeing to step down, the Republicans are still, a year or two behind in understanding what Democrats did and how to combat it. And it seems like only Scott Pressler is leading the charge. How that guy is not in a leadership position at the RNC is it's proof to me Republicans have not learned why they lost, or at the very least, the Republican establishment is actively trying to sabotage the Republican Party. The candidates.
Oh yeah, that's the uniparty. And I just want to say one other thing. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. I'm sorry. In Harris County in 2022 during the general election, there were 5 red precincts that ran out of ballot paper, and there were a lot of people that didn't get to vote because they never replenished the paper in time. So Democrats are going to figure out a way to cheat. One of the things I try to encourage people to do is, look, we have to continue to show up to vote, because each time that you show up, if we show up in droves, we expose the manner in which they're cheating. And then once we expose that, we can mark that off the list. They won't be able to do it again because we'll put safeguards in place. There's not an infinite number of ways that they can cheat. And so, eventually we'll have all of that exposed. But if we don't show up to vote, then none of that gets exposed. But I can guarantee you that in Harris County, that ain't going to happen again.
There needs to be, and there probably already is, look, we're like not even 8 months away. There should be 10,000 lawsuits filed right now. in every major state. Why the Republicans have not tried to abolish this universal mail-in voting garbage right now? I mean, some probably are, but
That's what happened in Delaware. Delaware just had their Supreme Court ruled that they had permanent absentee ballots.
yeah, there you go.
They were saying
Permanent Democrat state.
right. It was interesting because the lawsuit hinged on the fact that if you were to request like 1 year you're out of town for work or you have the flu or whatever, from then on they would always send you
Yep.
an absentee ballot. And the Supreme Court said this is in violation of our Constitution. And they also amended some early voting stuff. But so it's happening. It's maybe just not happening on the states that we feel critically need to address something.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.